Hello everyone, my name is Evan, and today we're going to be trying out this Sickle Bar mower behind us. So I bought this at auction a while ago, and recently I just went through the whole thing and I've tried to fix everything that I found wrong with it. So today's the day we finally get to, take it out for a test drive and see how well it mows. So hopefully we don't find anything else wrong with it that needs fixed, but let's go ahead, start greasing this thing up and cut some grass. So I did grease this the other day and I let it run for a little while just here in the gravel, but I haven't cut any hay with it. So I let that grease work in the other day. We're just going to grease it again today, make sure everything's good to go. So probably the most important place to grease this is going to be this wobble box area, and there is a total of 6 grease zerks on this wobble box. So there's 2 grease zerks on the inside of here, and I was like, how am I going to get this down in there and grease them? Plus I've got this lock and lube on here where it's got this trigger. Well, I found out if you just roll this the pulley on here, you can get those grease zerks to actually point out this end over here, and then you can get in here and grease them from the side. So I'm going to take this PTO shaft loose. So this PTO shaft, this U-joint right there is supposed to have a grease zerk, and it's missing. So I've got one. I'm not sure if it's the right size. We're going to see if we can replace this. Yep, that seems to be the right size. All right, I think I got it all greased up. Now I'm just going to put some oil on the cutter blade. This oil might be a little light for this application, I don't know. Hopefully this is good enough. Well, I've got the mower all greased up and ready to go. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this grass cut. Well, to me it looked like all these cutter teeth were sharp. Maybe not as sharp as I thought. Well, I've decided to go ahead and take the sickle bar out and see if I can sharpen some of these teeth up. So it looks like the sickle comes out the back side. Yep. So I've pulled the sickle out of the mower, and this tooth right here definitely is pretty dull. So I'm just going to try to sharpen all of these teeth. So the way I understand it, as long as there's no grooves on the top, you can sharpen it. So if there's grooves on the bottom, or if it's smooth on the bottom, you can sharpen that tooth. But if those grooves are on top, you have to just replace the whole tooth. So I'm gonna grab an angle grinder and try to touch these up. So a couple of these teeth are still dull after I sharpened them, so I'm just gonna go ahead and change them out and put a new tooth on there. There's one. So now that I've got the sickle bar out, I can kind of examine this a little bit better. And as I'm looking these over, I've got a trouble spot that was right in this area, and you can see this one is broken and cracked. It may be bent down, and that may be causing it not to cut in this location. I do not have any of these, so I'm going to have to see if I can find some. So I'll probably put a mark on this one that it needs replaced, and we'll look the rest of these over. Hopefully we don't find any more. Well, let's see if we can get this sickle back in there. So I ended up replacing 6 of the teeth on it. I seem to be hitting somewhere. So these bolts that I used, I had to cut the tops of the bolts off so they wouldn't stick up too high, but they still may be hitting a little bit. Well, I was able to get it in. Oh yeah, all right. So we've got a nice sharp blade now, and I've adjusted several of these hold downs so that there's just like a really thin gap, just a slight tick between the blade and the hold down. So hopefully that's gonna help this cut better. So let's give it another try. So I'm pretty happy with the way the sickle bar's cutting. I was able to do this first field at about 2 miles an hour, and then I did this one behind the barn at about 3 miles an hour. So you know, I'm kind of going slow. I'm learning, trying to learn, you know, figure out how to mow with this. You know, there was some places where I missed the grass and places that didn't cut. And I think in the end that was more my fault than it was the mower's fault. So, you know, I'm just trying to learn how to use it. And I was getting it clogged up with grass. And anytime it gets clogged up with grass, it doesn't want to cut. So it's probably more my fault. And then this tractor is it's just not ideal to run this, because when you push it on the clutch on this old tractor, it stops the PTO from running, which actually stops the mower from cutting. So anytime you would push the clutch in, the mower would stop cutting and it would basically clog it up, and then it didn't want to cut after that. So that basically forced me to use the hand clutch and go in between high and low. There's like a neutral position, and I'd have to use that to try to stop the mower, just to keep the PTO from, you know, so it would stay going. So I think it's a learning curve on how to run it with the tractor. And I think once I was getting it down, it was cutting pretty good for me. So I think I'm good with the way it's running, and it's time to move on to the next piece of hay equipment. So that's going to be the hay rake. So we'll do the same thing we did with this one. We'll go through it. We'll try to fix anything that's broken, and then we'll use it and try to learn how to, we'll probably come out here to this grass that we just cut and try to, you know, put that into windrows and practice using the hay rake, make sure it's working good. So anyway, I think for today, I'm just gonna go ahead and park this in the barn outside of the rain and call it a day. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.